Welcome to Heinz Seniors Coaching Up. Get access to the P3AK High Intensity Training ebook and its exclusive video tutorials. Commit with Heinz's coaching right now and be provided with a year of meal plans, training programs, and more. www.p3akday.com. There is no room for the littles.
She was killed. And they tried
top
to
six
cover it up.
girls really look great, but you seem to have that perfect aesthetic.
I wasn't
look.
into hip hop or even soul music.
There are definitely people that need a little Viagra.
I'm Dave Palumbo, founder of Species Nutrition. From my earliest bodybuilding days, I believed in only putting the best in my body, and that lives on in the Species Nutrition line of products. I put my name and reputation on every bottle of Species Nutrition products. If you want to be your absolute best, join the evolution. Hey guys, we're super excited to be here at the LA Fit Expo. It's our third year in a row. And what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be launching a tasty pastry. It's a low-carb Pop-Tart. It's got 3 to 4 grams of net carbs. And we love this show. This is our best place to be in LA.
RX Television on RxMuscle.com. This is Ask Dave, better known as hashtag Ask Dave, your 30-minute question and answer show with Dave Palumbo. All your questions, diet, training, supplementation, IFBB pros, news, life, whatever's on your mind, it is all on the table. So we're going to jump right into the questions. The first 2 questions, of course, from the Dave Palumbo Experience app, available wherever you get your apps from, be it Apple or Android. First question. Hello, Dave. I'm usually on gear for 4 months, take a break for 2 months at least, and then back on again. With that being said, do you think it's a good idea to take milk thistle all year round?
You know, first of all, I just wanted to say, a lot of people who may be tuned into the show for the first time don't know what the Dave Palumbo Experience app is. It's an app that I created with a partner of mine because I felt like there needed to be one place where people can access all my informational stuff. In other words, science stuff, based diet, nutritional gear advice, all that stuff. So we put this app together, so it's like a library of everything I've ever written, all the videos I've done, and then also we put up a Q&A every single week devoted just to the app. And they're based on questions that the app members ask. So if you're a member, you can ask any questions you want to me and I'll answer them, and I take the best ones and I do a Q&A every week. The good thing is that all the app members get to see all the questions and all the answers, so it's a learning experience. Plus, we put a workout up every single week that you can follow. So that's a nice thing. You can go to your, once again, iTunes store or Android store, and you can download the Dave Palumbo Experience app. It's $29 a month. It's like having a personal trainer in your pocket, or having me in your pocket. Now, getting to the question, which was
milk thistle year round.
Yeah. I didn't use milk thistle that much when I was competing because we didn't know that much about how it worked, really. I wish I would have known it. Now that I don't even do gear, and I use milk thistle every day. So it's just good for your liver because, think about it. The liver doesn't just detox gear. It detoxes if you have a drink of alcohol. It detoxes if you take a Tylenol. It detoxes everything that you eat in your body, even nutritional supplements to a certain degree. So the milk thistle reduces inflammation around the bile ducts that help basically transport all the gunk out of your liver. And so it's one of these supplements that can do no harm, so to speak. It can only help. So I tell people, if you can afford it and you can add it to your regimen, it's great. If you can't, then just use it like a couple times, maybe use it 2 months out of the year. Every 6 months is a kind of a detoxification type supplement. There are different, I sell a product called Liver Stable by Bill Llewellyn. Right now they're reformulating it. I usually sell that on DavePalumbo.com. Life Extension makes a really good one. It's called European Milk Thistle. So there are really good high quality ones out there, and there are cheap ones that don't work as well as out there as well. So try to stick with name brand stuff.
Second question again from the Dave Palumbo Experience app. Dave, how about cardio and a massage the week before your Saturday competition? You must do some cardio or not. What about a massage? Again, week of show.
Yeah. It's important to understand what the reason why people say, don't train 2 days before a show, don't do your legs 7 days before a show, don't get deep tissue massages 7 days before a show within that, week period. Because what we're trying to do the last couple days and the last week is let the muscles heal themselves. Because when they heal themselves, they show more detail, they are harder, they incorporate glycogen better. If you go on stage with your muscles broken down because you've been doing cardio up to the day of the show and you've been training up until the day of the show, you're going to look better 2 days later after the show. So we don't want inflammation. Think about what massage does. It breaks down tissue and it creates inflammation in the area, which is what your body then responds to and repairs it. So you don't want inflammation in the muscle, okay, when you're up on stage, because it's going to blur definition. Same reason why you don't want to break down massive amounts of muscle right before a show either, because it's going to blur what you're trying to see on stage, even if you take a diuretic and you dry yourself out. So don't train 2 days before a show, last leg 7 days before a show, and last massage 7 days before a show.
Let's go to our Instagram questions. Again, if you're not already following us, our handle's official_RxMuscle. Of course, we now wrapped up the Olympia and Arnold portion of the calendar. Given the wonky year that it was, we appreciate all your support during the course of that busy schedule. And then, of course, now as we transition into the offseason, of course, we have a big show this upcoming week, the Prague Pro. Going to be some big names there. Regan Grimes going to be there, Samson Dauda, Nathan Diasha, Jamie the Giant. We're going to get a look at Rafael Brandao. I believe Ruli Winkler is on the sheet. I'm not sure if he's confirmed, but he is scheduled to compete as well. So, but then eventually transitioning into the off season, we're going to have all sorts of content to keep things interesting, keep things fresh, and keep tabs of all the competitors during their off season programs and keep you abreast of everything going on. If you haven't already done so, hit the subscribe button below, hit the notification bell. You're not going to miss any of our shows, segments, or updates. Let's go to...
Hold on 1 second, Sid. I wanted to say one thing. Think about the opportunity that existed for one of these top 6 guys who placed at the Olympia. If one of them would have just said, you know what, I'm going to go keep dieting and I'm going to hit all these European shows, and then once the season's over, once all the shows are over, then I'll take it easy and I'll call it a season. Anyone in that top 6 could have probably won every single one of those shows, and they didn't take that opportunity to do it. I don't know why. Maybe the prize money's not enough. Think about how popular they would have gotten, because think about, just pick one name. Hadi Chupin, who's out there already. He could have showed up at every one of those shows and won every single one of them, gone home with a fistful of dollars, and his fame and notoriety would have gone even crazier through the roof. And the guy's always in shape anyway. It wouldn't have been that hard for him to continue on. So it behooves me why these guys don't do it. Back in the day, Labrada and Gaspari and Stridham, they would go do the whole tour, Same thing with, guys like Lavroni and Ronnie Coleman, and Flex. They were all battling it out overseas, for a week or 2 or 3 after the Olympia to collect money and notoriety. And I don't know why guys don't do it anymore. It drives me crazy. I mean, Regan Grimes is cashing in, and Nathan Diasha, man, good move on their part.
Well, this weekend you also had the Dubai Muscle Show, which you and I went to.
Yes.
3 years ago, and then I went the following year. But they had a lot of the big names there, like Hadi Chupin, just as an example. He was there, so I would imagine it was, a handsomely paid appearance for him. But you're right.
But there's other shows. I mean,
right.
He could have skipped that one, but I'm saying he could hit the other ones. I mean, but Egypt would have been an easy, Hadi Chupin win right there.
No, but nonetheless, Regan Grimes, I mean, he talked about it with us when we interviewed him at last year's Olympia. I mean, he talked about just loving the whole,
he's
art
smart,
of competing.
Smart businessman.
Yeah.
Those relationships that he's making with these promoters will be with him for the next 20 years.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Now, of course, a full recap of the Egypt Pro right now on Heavy Muscle Radio. That is available. And then a very, very, very interesting / controversial episode of the After Hours podcast. We had a Flat Earth expert, David Weiss, I believe that's his
Yes.
name. So I know it's a conversation that's come up. We've had some, touchings on conspiracy theories and so on and so forth. But he came on, again, whether you believe it or not, it was a very compelling.
He reached out to me, Sid. He said, someone told me I should go on your podcast because we had been talking. Jimmy the Bull believes in flat Earth, and he'd been, we were throwing theories out there, and no one really knew what we were talking about. I said, you know what, this guy reached out to me. I looked at his podcast, and he had a lot of knowledge about the whole subject. And I said, you know what, even if I don't necessarily believe it, I want someone who is so knowledgeable on it that can answer questions. And he came on, and he had a whole presentation with him. It's so interesting. Whether you believe it or not, some of the stuff was out of, a little outlandish to me. Some of the stuff resonated with me, and I agreed with him on some of the conspiracy stuff or some of the stuff that we're told happens that might not happen. Check it out. It's a very, very interesting. Look, we watch movies, science fiction movies all the time that are not necessarily true, but they're entertaining to watch. This was a very entertaining interview. Even if you don't believe what he's saying, watch the interview. I promise you guys, I know my audience. I guarantee you guys will enjoy it, whether you agree or not with him.
Let's go to a good friend of the show, Wellness Bikini Queen. Now that you've seen the Wellness Division take form at the Olympia stage, we saw the first ever winner crowd. Have you changed your mind about the division, and have you changed your mind about not needing a wellness class yet, and specifically at the Olympia?
Yeah, I don't think we need a wellness class. It doesn't mean it's not going to be a successful class. It doesn't mean that I don't like those physiques. I like the wellness physiques way better than I like the bikini physiques. Let me tell you, I like muscle. I like girls with muscular legs. That's I never was really a boob guy. I'm a butt guy and leg guy. So for me, I love the division in the sense that I like watching it and I like the physiques I'm seeing. I never thought it was necessary. Because I think a lot of those girls can do women's physique if they want to. A lot of them can easily cross over and do very well. But I'm glad that it's successful because anything that increases the success of our bodybuilding organization, the NPC, IFBB, is something that I'm in favor of. So if they came up with another division that I necessarily didn't agree with, but it was successful and it brought money into the organization and notoriety and got more people involved in fitness, I'm all for it. The only division I'm going to be completely against, whether it's successful or not, is the fat person division. If they bring in a division where they judge the fatter you are, the better, I'm not in favor of that division because that does not promote health and fitness, although it would be pretty amusing to watch, I must admit.
Tyler, I messaged you. I'm not sure if you got it.
That's the title of your show, Sid. The new fat division.
There we go. Kyle, Denny, Shane, Dave, earlier today you posted a video with your quads popping. You were at the gym. So of course, you're going to have people talking about that and
on my Instagram,
eventuality of a possible comeback if you can comment.
I'm shocked that we're getting such, I did this literally an hour ago or 2 hours ago when I was at the gym. I was training legs. Look, I haven't trained legs in 2 years. Let me just tell you that. So I've only been training them for about a month or two, no, maybe 2 months now. So my legs respond very fast. And I said, they don't look too bad. The lighting was pretty good. I don't have a good tan or anything like that, but I figured, well, I'll throw up a video. People love to see, what I look like. I'm very lean, so I have a physique. Even though in clothes I don't look big, I have a lot of muscle on my body because I have no body fat. So I figured I'd show it off a little bit. And what do? I eat well. I eat a lot of protein, not a ton of protein like I used to. I'm not eating I don't need 300 grams of protein anymore. I eat about 160, 70 grams of protein. I probably eat about a little more. Because, I eat a lot of those ketogenic protein bars, Quest, Legendary Food stuff. So I probably get about 180 grams of protein a day. Now, I've upped it a little bit since I've been training in a real gym for the last 2 months. I eat some carbs, but I don't eat a lot of carbs because I find that if I eat too many carbs, sometimes my blood sugar control is not so good. I don't know if that's just a factor of aging, genetics, I don't know. But so I keep my carbs probably around 100 to 100 and maybe 50 per day, and I eat a lot of fat. So I probably eat about 100 grams of fat per day. So I'm eating a decent amount of calories, Some days more, some days less. I kind of am an instinctual eater now. But I give my body enough protein to repair itself. And what I found is that because I had a lot of muscle at one point before, even though I'm on no gear, or anything like that, with occasional HCG shot, I take from Titan maybe every 10 days or so, I find that I can put muscle back on just from training because I use a good technique. I'm going to actually put up a video. I shot a video. I had a man shoot me squatting today for the first time. Now, I have half a quad that's not attached So it's a little difficult. And you can see it in the picture where it was missing, but I want to show proper technique. So what I'm doing is I'm showing people that by using full range of motion with controlled technique, with the right form, you can build muscle at an older age, especially if you had it earlier in your career, without having to go crazy heavy, okay? And without having to eat an enormous amount of food. And I've probably added back probably about 10 pounds, 12 pounds of muscle, like just by training in a real gym, doing my legs now, because my legs hold a lot of mass, obviously, and by eating properly and increasing my food intake a little bit. And I think that's about what it's all about, because as we get older, we don't need to be huge, but we want to look good, we want to be lean. If I ate a lot of carbs, I probably would not be quite this lean, but I have a very fast metabolism. But what I would notice is my blood sugars would be off. So to me, it's not just about how I look now, it's about how my health markers are. Is my blood work normal? Is my hemoglobin A1C, which is your average 3-month blood sugar, is that doing well? Okay, because you could have high blood sugars, during the day a little bit, but as long as your hemoglobin A1C is under 5.5, you're in pretty good shape, So if you keep track of all these markers, then your health is never going to get away from you. In other words, you're not going to wake up and go to the doctor one day and he's going to say you got 6 months to live, because you're on top of things, unless something happens, obviously unforeseen, that you didn't know. So that's the success, or the key to success, is to constantly monitor these things, eat right, use good exercise form in the gym, and don't try to set records when you're in your 50s. It's not worth it.
Go to Jack Star. He wants your reaction on HCG being discontinued in the market and in the landscape of clinics.
Yeah. This is a total drug company, tour de force, so to speak. They don't want these compounding pharmacies selling HCG anymore, which is human chorionic gonadotropin, which a lot of men use, obviously, to stimulate their own production of testosterone. Because what it is HCG, which is isolated from the urine of pregnant women, is an analog to LH. So it mimics the effects of luteinizing hormone, and luteinizing hormone in men stimulates the testicles to produce testosterone. In women, it has no effect on testosterone production. It affects their reproductive cycles, okay? So sometimes I hear women tell me, I'm doing a PCT. I'm like, a PCT of what? You don't have any testicles to turn back on. But for men, HCG is very useful. So these drug companies don't like the fact that, once again, all these compounding pharmacies are making it and selling it to the rejuvenation clinics that are selling it to people. So they put the kibosh on that. They probably paid off the government. Who knows what they did. So you can only get Pregnil, which is the brand name of HCG, and it's very expensive. So most of these hormone replacement clinics now are not going to offer that. They're going to offer something in a different option. I know that Titan Medical Center, .com, who we obviously are very good friends with, John and Charisse, are going to be offering 2 alternatives. One is enclomiphene, which is it's kind of like Clomid. It stimulates or binds to receptors in your hypothalamus to your brain, and it causes the hypothalamus to produce gonadotropin releasing hormone, which then stimulates the pituitary gland in your brain to produce LH. So it's like an indirect way of stimulating testosterone production. Not quite as effective. Then they have another, there's a peptide out called kisspeptin, okay? And kisspeptin might be the closest thing, we're gonna get to, HCG, I guess you could say. And I'm gonna do a whole video on kisspeptin and how that works as well. And so, it sucks that this happens, but it's inevitable. Whenever something works, the government always pulls it away, especially if it's too easily accessible. They want to make a drug out of it. I heard they're trying to get rid of TB500 now. They obviously it's a healing peptide. Why should rejuvenation clinics and compounding pharmacies be able to make TB500 when the government can make, or the pharmacy or the pharmaceutical companies can make a drug that does the same thing and charge 10,000 times more than we're paying already? So that's the way it goes. We got to navigate the landscape, but we'll get through it. And like I said, there'll be options available, and I'll do a separate video on that.
Our good friend T Bam Bam, to make a true comparison, shouldn't all mandatory poses be performed the same way so you can compare? A lot of these new athletes do variations which are good for their open routine, but not for the comparison round of the mandatories that are to be formed one way. Would you agree for a better comparison? It gives a couple of examples, but do you agree with that I guess in terms of the comparisons, that those mandatories should be done in the same uniform manner?
I think that, look, I'm a stickler for mandatories and being done executed a certain way. there are variations on how they can be executed, which I think are acceptable. But there are some people like who, when they hit side tricep and they just throw their arm down, that's not a side tricep pose. You have to reach behind your back and grasp your arm so that you can lock down the tricep. That's the way you hit a side tricep pose. Same thing with an ab thigh. An ab thigh is not is two hands behind your head, locked down leg. Okay, it's not one leg with a side most muscular shot. That's not acceptable. So yeah, I agree. In certain cases, you have to execute the pose the way it's meant to be executed. But if one person wants to put the back leg back for the side tricep and the other person wants to tuck the other leg in because that's the way their legs look better, I'm okay with that variation. Same thing, front double bicep. You can hit a front double bicep and put one leg out to the side, or you can hit it with the legs together. Some people put one leg forward, which I think looks terrible, but I like it. I like one leg out, like Flex Wheeler used to hit it, and Rodin hits it. But those are acceptable variations. Same thing with lat spread. You can hit lat spread with legs together, or you can put one lat spread with one leg out to the side a little bit. That's tweaking just how your body looks best. But when people start to get sloppy and almost like that was a big burp. Someone try to avoid hitting the pose because they don't really look that good and they can't suck their stomach in. I'm in favor of.
Go to Bobby Trap Lord. Is EAAs between every meal a good way to optimize a rebound after a diet or the start of a cycle? And then a secondary to that, do EAAs tax your kidneys like protein and raise your creatinine?
Too much of anything is taxing to your body. So if you're eating 6 times a day, for instance, and then in between meals, you're guzzling essential amino acids, branched chain amino acids, first of all, there's no reason to do that, because if you're eating a meal, it takes probably 2 hours to assimilate the whole meal anyway, so you're constantly having an influx of amino acids. What I like to recommend people use amino acids, like when people ask me, hey Dave, when should I use your Amino Evolved product? Because I really like the taste of it. I'll tell them, if you're not dieting, drink it while you're doing your workout, when you're weight training, you can sip it. Or if there's long periods during the day where maybe you're just not having time to eat, or when you're on a diet sometimes, or when you're trying to limit how much food you eat because maybe you get fat real easily, you might have a 3.5 hour stretch between a meal, 2 meals. That would be a good time to bridge the gap. But if you're just like constantly guzzling, it's like your body is being bombarded with just too much protein. And it's like after a while, you're going to start getting that like ammonia breath, because your body can't break down all this stuff, and it's trying to get rid of it through your pores and through your... People always ask me, I have ammonia breath, or my wife says I stink, it comes out of my pores. Where's that all? Well, you're overtaught. You too much protein in your body. Your body is overwhelmed. It can't get rid of it the conventional way. It's releasing it through the skin. When the body uses the skin as an excretory organ, that usually means that it's overwhelmed, by something, okay? Kids who have acne problems, and I had acne for many years, it's because there's too many toxins in the body and it can't get out. And or the body's having a bad reaction to a food that maybe it's eating, like lactose. I didn't know this. No one told me. When I went to the dermatologist as a kid, they told me, oh, food has nothing to do with your skin, which is the furthest thing from the truth. Sugar intake, lactose, dairy will definitely irritate your skin, because it's your body trying to get rid of all the stuff that it can't break down. It's getting rid of it through the excretory organs of the skin. And so obviously if there's too much sugar coming through your skin, the bacteria there use that as a fuel source, and then they make, you get pimples and shit like that. So what I would recommend is use it, strategically. That's a good way to put it. So if you have two time periods of the day where you're down a little bit, like maybe when you're training, or maybe like, between breakfast and lunch or something like that, or lunch and dinner, and you want to kind of bridge the gap a little bit, that's when you should use them.
That's going to do for this episode of Ask Dave. A reminder right now on the channel, all new episode of the Heavy Muscle Radio podcast. Dave, Chris, I believe Lee Priest, John Romano, where they do a full recap of the Egypt Pro. Regan Grimes collecting the win there, and then looking to collect his second win as in many weeks at this weekend's Prague Pro. And then, of course, the controversial episode of the After Hours podcast, top flat earth expert and really getting into it, Greg Valentino. Entertaining, informative. It'll make you think, even though you may not agree with it. For Tyler Shore and Dave Palumbo, I'm Sadiq Faruqi. We'll see you next time.